Yo, PvP is out, or at least depending on when you're watching this, it's going to be out. Now I see a lot of people complaining that Niantic is taking their time when it comes to releasing PvP, but people, come on, like there's really one reason why PvP hasn't come out yet. So before you say that Niantic is too slow or they're not jumping on it, just remember that they are aware of a lot of things that people are not necessarily aware of. They want to make sure this comes out with a bang, and for them to do that, they need to make sure the timing is right. So yeah, I do think PvP is ready, and they're ready to release it right now. So yeah, just be patient, folks. I mean, it's gonna be out. It might even come out by the time you watch this video. Hence why I started by saying PvP is out when it may not necessarily be out. So there you go. Yeah, enjoy the video, folks. What's happening, bros? Welcome to another Pokemon Go video. I'm Count Jinsula. Today I'm going to be talking about PvP. Of course, PvP is the next big thing for Pokemon Go. I did mention this before. A lot of people are saying, no, something else is going to be the next big thing. No, of course it's going to be PvP. And of course, this is potentially what's going to be the end game for Pokemon Go. Or at least I would love for this to be the end game for Pokemon Go. I think the current gameplay loop for Pokemon Go is not sustainable. The whole idea of just collecting and catching and showing off your collection. I mean, it's fun. It's not necessarily the most intuitive gameplay. It's just basically luck-based. But I would love for PvP to become the core gameplay loop. Like, the whole reason people play this game is for PvP. Now, in order for that to happen, there has to be some changes to the PvP system, because as it currently is right now, I don't necessarily think it's going to be treated as anything more than just a side activity. I think PvP has the potential to become the primary gameplay of Pokemon Go, and I would love for that to be the case. Now, the reason why I'm pushing PvP so hard is because PvP is the core gameplay of the handheld series, and I would love for something like that to translate into Pokemon Go. I want a reason to catch everything. I want a reason to power up everything, and PvP is the perfect reason to do that. Up until now, it's been all about collecting, and the end game has been raiding, but I really want PvP to become the new end game. Raiding has definitely been a lot of fun. It's definitely something that allows us as communities to come together and to play together, but I really like the idea of there being something competitive in Pokemon Go, because that's something that the game is currently lacking. Like, unless you're doing some sort of XP race or you're trying to get world rankings for stats, like, other than that, there's really nothing competitive about Pokemon Go. PvP is where the game can get really competitive, but in order for them to make PvP a central part of this game, there has to be a couple of changes. First and foremost, and I think this is super important, there has to be some sort of competitive nature to it. Like, if you are doing PvP, there has to be some kind of goal. If you look at games like Hearthstone and Clash Royale, the reason why these games are doing so well and they're very strongly PvP based, it's because they have world ranking systems, they have a ladder. There needs to be something like that in Pokemon Go for PvP. I would love to see a PvP ladder in Pokemon Go. If I'm battling friends, if I'm battling random people, I would love for there to be some sort of reward for that. Of course, spoofers and hackers and botters are definitely going to skew the balance aspect of it, but with stuff like the Ultra League and stuff like the Great League, you know, things like IVs and rare Pokemon don't necessarily matter as much because the playing field is a bit leveled with the 2500 CP cap. So honestly, I don't see why they shouldn't implement some kind of ladder system into the game. And you know, this could be their excuse to do a huge ban wave for spoofers. So, you know, I always love to bring up spoofers on my channel because quite honestly, anytime I talk about spoofers, I get a whole bunch of clicks and views. So here you go. This is my spiel on spoofers. So if you're a spoofer and you're watching this video, share this with your spoofing friends. Let them know that I want you guys banned for PvP. and bring on the views. Yeah, let's do it. But in any case, let's talk about other things that PvP currently needs. I think one big thing is, of course, balance. The game is currently, it's just up in the air when it comes to game balance. There are certain Pokemon that are definitely going to dominate when it comes to PvP. And there's quite a lot of other Pokemon that could be fan favorites that definitely need a buff in order to be usable. So when it comes to Ultra League, especially the Master League, there's going to be a lot of tweaking that's going to be needed in order for these modes to be balanced. And I think Niantic needs to continue iterating on balance. I mean, CP reworks are a dime a dozen when it comes to this game, but it's something that I would like to see continuously iterated on so that PvP is completely balanced. And of course, a 100% balance is never going to be achieved, but when it comes to the meta, there's always going to be a meta. I want Niantic to pay attention to that and tweak the game based on that. So if certain Pokemon are being underutilized, buff them up, give them some really cool moves, and if certain Pokemon are just dominating the meta, well, nerf them down and give them less moves, I don't know, or give their counters stronger moves. You can kind of get the idea. Game balance is a huge thing. Competitiveness is another huge thing. Another thing that PvP needs is a little bit of variety, because PvP as it is right now is basically just tapping, and you just have to kind of gauge when you should use your protective shields, but you only get 2 of those to begin with. So quite honestly, it's just one big glorified rock, paper, scissors game, right? So there has to be some kind of strategy involved other than just typing and coverages and different things like that. You know, I really would like for them to add status effects. I would love for them to add stuff like, you know, being able to poison your opponents or paralyzing them for a little bit. The ability for your Pokemon to recover HP, different things like that. I think it could create an interesting dynamic for PvP. This is really something that they should explore moving forward. I think the game is primed and ready for stuff like that. So yeah, variety is the spice of life. It's something that I would love to see in the move pool for Pokemon Go. If people are using poison types, they should be able to unleash poison damage, you know, damage over time, different things like that. When people are using electric types, they should expect to have their opponent's Pokemon paralyzed, and you could utilize that. They could jump on it, they could use those times to switch out their Pokemon and really strategize. And you know, this is something that I would love to see. I think there's a whole bunch of stuff like that that makes the mainstream game so successful. Why can't they have that in Pokemon Go? I think it'd be a lot of fun. And of course, right now we don't have weather boosts that are going to affect the playing field, but like we don't have to give boosts to certain Pokemon depending on the weather, but we can make things interesting in the playing field. Like for example, if it's windy weather, instead of giving dragon types and flying types boosts, why not make it so that both players, their Pokemon's charge moves charge up much slower because of the windy weather? Or if it's snowy or foggy outside, then they have a chance of missing their charge moves. Like something like that I think would be really interesting. And that's another thing that I would like to see in Pokemon Go. Let's have some multipliers and let's have some chance-based mechanics with the moves. I think that would create some interesting interactions. Like for example, like there should be some crit damage. I think that would be really interesting. There's a chance for you to dodge or miss a charge move. I think that would be really cool as well. These are some of the things that are staples in other player versus player based games, and I would love to see something like that in Pokemon Go. It would definitely make the game a lot more interesting. That's really what it comes down to. They don't need to change anything mechanically when it comes to PvP. They just need to add a lot more variety, and they need to add a lot more strategy to it. I think that's all the game really needs. So yeah, is PvP awesome? Well, we really can't tell right now. From what we do know, from what we've seen, it is kind of like an interesting system. But when I look at it, it looks more like a side activity, which is kind of a bummer. Like, it's not anything different from like gym battling and raiding and trading. There's nothing really special about it. So I really hope Niantic takes into consideration that they have a golden goose on their hands. PvP could be a great way for players to be completely drawn in. So yeah, I really hope they continue to iterate and improve on this system, because I honestly think PvP, if they were to make it a really cool thing in 2019, we're gonna have a really awesome game that we could compete with our friends, that we don't necessarily need to be where they are. And honestly, with the whole Ultra Friends and Best Friends restrictions, I can understand why they did that for remote battles, but Honestly, I think they can ease up a little bit. Why not make it great friends? Because I have a lot more great friends, and let's say you want to battle a certain friend. The idea that you have to constantly push your friendship with them for 30 whole days before you could actually battle them, like, that is a little bit much. So Niantic, if you're watching this, if you happen to be listening to this, I really suggest you bump it down to great friends. Like, I think that's a bit more of a balanced kind of way for players to play with their friends, because when I'm raiding, when I'm playing at community days, I'm making friends left and right. Like, I would love to be able to have interactions with people where we're going to be focusing on improving for player versus player, and we're going to train and battle each other and come up with strategies. But if we're just starting off as just friends and we need to build ourselves up to ultra friends before we could actually start doing that, like, that is a big kind of a roadblock. So you want to reduce those roadblocks. I think great friends is fine, like interacting with each other for 7 days and then being able to do PvP. I think that's something that you should consider. And at this point, I'm just rambling because PvP, in my opinion, just has so much potential, and I think there's so much that I could talk about regarding what they could do to improve this system. But we'll just have to wait and see. I like the fact that they are treating it as a work in progress, that they're not just going to throw it into the game and just leave it at that, that they really want to make this system grow and improve over time. I'm excited to see what Niantic does in 2019. It's going to be a phenomenal year, and it's definitely going to be the year of PvP. So we'll just have to see what they end up doing to it. I would love for them to improve the reward system, like having Sinnoh Stones is nice, but I'm telling you, man, like, why can't there be bottle caps in the game? I would love for there to be a way for me to improve the IVs of my Pokemon. It would definitely help out with game balance as well, because people with like a 100% Mewtwo are always going to edge out people with, like, let's say a 70% Mewtwo. And I think when it comes to, like, you know, like a 93% Mewtwo versus 100% Mewtwo, I think the difference is going to be so minimal to the point where they really don't need to care about it. But when it comes to certain IVs, I really think that they do make a difference. Like, a 0% IV Pokemon next to a 100% IV Pokemon is a difference of about 1.5 levels. So, you know, it can be a big deal at the end of the day. But yeah, these are just my thoughts on the whole thing. I would like to know what you think regarding PvP, what changes that they could implement, how they could improve this system. Do you want them to improve this system? Do you agree or disagree with me that PvP could become the core loop of Pokemon Go? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Let's have a great discussion. I would love for PvP to flourish. Niantic, if you're watching this, definitely consider some of the things I talked about in this video and listen to your community, because everyone is just on board with this whole thing. And, you know, it's something that a lot of people are excited for, so definitely deliver. You guys have done a killer job in 2018. Let's keep that going into 2019. That's going to be it for this video, folks. And if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And if it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button as well as that little bell. I'm Count Jinsula, and I'll catch you all later. Look, I can't open my eyes. I don't know why I close my eyes when I vlog. It's just, I'm tired, man. I record like way too early.